Welcome to our SASSCAL podcast. My name is Sharon Kavu and I am your host. And today we are joined in the studio by Mr. James Mbewe from Worldwide Fund for Nature, as we are continuing with our series of how impactful our training on Earth observation data validation has been going. The recently held training workshop in Lusaka, Zambia, which was attended by participants from different organizations, non-governmental and governmental organizations who were joining us in this training session. Today we are talking about how the training workshop has been impactful to Mr. Mbewe from the WWFN. Welcome, Mr. Mbewe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, maybe you can tell us a brief background of the nature of your work and your organization and why it was very relevant for you to be here.
Okay, to start with, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF Zambia in particular, is an international conservation organization that works to protect the natural resources and the environment. And so our focus is more on the wildlife, forest, and also the youths, the food, the climate change. And so those we call them thematic areas without forgetting the energy.
All right.
Yeah, so currently we have priority landscapes where we work in Zambia to complement government efforts in the conservation work.
Wow, interesting. So from this training workshop, what can you say are the key areas that were impactful to your line of specialty?
Okay, so from this training, this has capacitated me with the skills on how to observe these natural resources, even without going there, using the necessary tools. And to be honest, it is very important that before we give our efforts on the ground, we understand the vulnerable areas, especially in the river basins where we work, and also in some of the wetlands or floodplains where we work. So if we understand the vulnerable areas, then at least we'll have where to start from. And this training will complement WWF efforts in trying to protect the biodiversity and the water resources management aspect that we dive deep in our department. Yeah.
Wow, quite interesting. So what is it from this training workshop that was very new to you that you didn't know actually existed?
So from this training, I actually didn't know that we can do the validation of the results from the Earth observation tools that have been provided, like the QGIS and with the Google Earth, and actually pinpoint the areas where we would like to focus our assessment. And also I have learned that we can actually do the desktop assessment of these areas without even going on the ground, and just going on the ground just to do the validation. And I think that's very smart, because we have sometimes been relying on the published papers that have been done by people not in Zambia, and a global classification, according to what we've learned, does not help that much, because if we do the local classification, then the people who will be doing the classification have the prior knowledge to those areas, and that makes it very precise in terms of having the accurate data. And the accurate data does not put the lives of the communities on the ground on a risk, because you'd find that, I'll give an example, an area has been classified as a forest. When you go on the ground, you find that there are fields. And so what happens if you advocate for that area to become a forest reserve? It means you are infringing the rights of people to benefit from the usual livelihood that they depend on. And as you know, that the majority of people on the ground, especially in these communities, the economic activity is farming, and so they are always deprived with that aspect. Yeah.
Okay, so having this type of knowledge, which is a bit advanced, which is technical, how do you think? Okay, what is the relevance of such technology in terms of maybe helping the community in policy making, in the policy framework?
So I would like to mention with you that conservation work is not work that you do alone as an organization or just as government. You work with people on the ground, and it involves mapping these resources, because you cannot manage what you can't count, you can't manage what you can't identify, and this identification and or mapping of these resources is done with the community. So in this technology that has been introduced to us, it's easy for us to actually guide better the local management groups, like the village fisheries management groups, the water user associations, and other groups that we work with, when it comes to mapping the natural resources of importance and of target on the ground. And that is going to reduce on the risks and also reduce on the conflicts on the ground when it comes to which areas are supposed to be managed forward and which areas are supposed to be reserved forward.
Okay, wow, that is interesting, and thank you so much for taking your time to share such information with us. Maybe as we conclude, as we wind up, what is your overview of the whole training workshop?
Yeah, I think this training is really good and technical. I think it's good that we had a 3 days workshop, but I think this workshop was supposed to be at least maybe for 5 days. Yeah, because especially on the aspect of practicals. But the good news is that we have been provided with the materials, and I think all the participants are encouraged to internalize and also practice on a regular basis, because it's not a training that you can take and then just say, I attended the training and then I'm going to show impact on the ground, because it needs you to practice for you to be in the deep dive of it. I would like to thank the organizers, the SASSCAL, through the We Must project, for actually inviting WWF to this training. As WWF, we value collaboration, and we really thank the organization for thinking about us to work together.
Wow, thank you so much for this well-detailed discussion. Well, to all our listeners, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to our podcast session. And if you have any questions, queries, comments, please feel free to put them on our comment section on the social media platforms. And thank you so much for your time.